right. Welcome, everybody, to another week of the Commanders Film Room, a Week 11 edition where the Commanders fall to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Mark Bullock and Nick Ackridge. We're going to break down their all-22 film today. If you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and comment on our YouTube page, The Big Doug and Carmi Show. You can also follow Mark at Mark Bullock NFL. You can follow Nick at PFF_Nick Ackridge on X. Gentlemen, another loss for Washington, 2 in a row, ironically, to two Pennsylvania teams going into it back-to-back. There's a little consternation in the fan base right now. People are a little bit disappointed with what happened as the year went on. Washington's sitting at 7-4. Nick, I want to throw it to you. What is your level of concern with Washington to start, at this point of the year? 7-4. If you asked us about a year ago if Washington was 7-4, most of us would be really happy about this, right? But 2 losses back-to-back, we're starting to see a little bit of a stress here. What is your level of concern, and what do you attest their struggles for the past 2 weeks? Has it been the competition level of our opponents, or has it been regression from our team?
Man, that's a lot. I would put it at like a 4.
Okay.
I'm not too concerned. I mean, I kind of said after the game, like the expectations have risen dramatically, and so that's kind of why a lot of people are starting to freak out, and that's fair. You play 2 good teams, and you want to get at least 1 win out of that. But I think really the Eagles game was really the only one where they didn't really seem kind of up to it, I guess. And, you can chalk that up to whether it being short week on Thursday, guys just kind of still banged up. I mean, them having a week 14 bye is brutal. Like they're dealing with a lot of stuff right now. And I think it was just sometimes you have games like that where it just doesn't work out. So I'm not too overly concerned. Now, if they don't look drastically better against a very, very bad Cowboys team next week, then we can start having some conversations. But as of right now, I'm not overly concerned.
Absolutely. I think, it's fair to say the Philadelphia Steelers are a well-coached team with Mike Tomlin. The Philadelphia Eagles have been building towards a team roster as well developed just for a couple of years now. So you could kind of expect some sort of competition going back and forth there. So I'm not necessarily concerned right now either. But then same concern as you. If we fall to Dallas this week, all hell's going to break loose. It's been pretty messy here in D.C. But going back to that point, Mark, I know this is a hot topic for you, so I wanted to throw this question to you. Going into the season, talking about it this summer, the big criticism of Kliff Kingsbury was that he eventually reaches a wall. We saw him early in the year kind of cooking, was in his bag, very creative. The offense was moving. Jayden Daniels was clear-cut offensive rookie of the year. But we're starting to see a little bit of a slide the past 2 games. And to be honest, that's being critical. We put 27 points up against Pittsburgh Steelers 2 weeks ago. So I'm curious. I know you're passionate about it. Has Kliff Kingsbury hit a wall, or do you think there's something else to the story?
No, he hasn't hit a wall. I'll put it short like that. I'm going to go on a rant for most of this show, breaking down why he hasn't hit a wall. And I'm going to sound like I'm going to bat for him, and I'm not, because I have been critical of him, and I was very skeptical of him going into the season. But I think the criticism, a lot of the narratives that we've had around Kingsbury this offseason have turned out to not be true, or if they are true, they come with caveats. So stuff like Terry McLaurin was going to line up on the left side of the field the entire time. And yes, that has largely been true for most of the snaps. He has lined up on the left, but the offense is built around tempo and being able to go up tempo. You want those outside receivers to stay on the same side so they're not wasting time swapping sides. So instead of having them swap sides, they stay on the same side and they swap roles based on the alignment of the offense. So Terry switches from being the X receiver to the Z receiver based on the formation and the hash mark that they're on and that kind of thing. So so some of those criticisms I think have been unfair and need context. And I think some of the criticisms of his offense is stalling late in years. Like, yes, the stats back that up, but like in his last year in Arizona, for example, Kyler Murray got hurt in like week 11, and then Colt McCoy was in for the last like 6 or 7 games. So your offense is obviously going to regress when Colt McCoy is your starting quarterback. So like there is some reasons to them, and we'll dive into some of that. But I mean, as you said, they put up 27 against the Steelers. We just saw the Ravens, who were the number 1 scoring offense in the league, this week.
Absolutely.
Only dropped 16 this week. So,
Mm-hmm.
and Washington didn't have the best game offensively, but they still put up 27 against a defense that is one of the best in the league. So, and we'll get into some of the Philly stuff and what have you. But I think if they had managed to complete that 4th down pass for an extra yard and gone on and kicked the field goal.
They had that.
Didn't drop the ball several times throughout the game as well. There's definitely was a lot of errors that game as well.
I think if something else had gone their way in that game, they won that game, we'd just be talking about, well, it was just a short week against Philly. Philly's a good team, and we wouldn't be worried about it. But, two losses in 4 days is always going to get some people wound up.
Absolutely. Let's hope that the Cowboys game is a get-right game for Washington. I actually have been really impressed by Kliff Kingsbury this year. I love the up-tempo stuff. I feel like it really puts stress on the defense where they can't substitute and bring in different packages to counteract our offense. I do like that. And I'm really impressed by his commitment to the run game. Like, we've been diagnosing it all year long, how intricate and how focused the actual run game has been. And the commitment to it has been productive all year. So hopefully we can turn it around. So speaking of which, turning it around, I'm going to throw it over to Nick. We're going to start looking at Jayden Daniels. Let's break it on down.
Yeah, so we just kind of talked about how there's no reason to worry, but now I'm going to show you some bad stuff from the quarterback play.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to have games like this. Every quarterback's going to have bad games, especially rookie quarterbacks. It's going to happen. It's a very good defense. It's a well-coached defense. A lot of really good players, but there's some stuff on here that you can chalk up to maybe he's still being injured, and there's some other stuff where you just kind of chalk it up to, okay, he missed this. And so I'm just going to kind of quickly touch on that before Mark goes on his nice long rant. But so kind of one of the first big ones here. I think this is the big pass deflection by Zach Bond here, and just a great play there on 3rd and on what is 3rd and 4th. But Washington's got a nice little wheel with a pick route here set up, which is one hell of a pick route that if this is caught, it's probably called back. But I think you get exactly what you want on this in terms of the coverage you want and kind of understanding leverage on this. And I think he shouldn't be throwing this dig route to Noah Brown based on the coverage they kind of provided. And you'll see him kind of look towards it. But kind of right off the snap, he gives a quick look to see if this linebacker is peeling. His job is to peel with this wheel route here. So once he kind of peels there, he thinks it's over. But I think because of the leverage, you can still hit this. I think Ertz needs to do a much better job of running a route here to actually sell the pick instead of just completely obliterating him here. But again, you've got man coverage here with Darius Slay on Zach Ertz. He stays in that man coverage. You can see the safety. He's always going to be poaching this backside because of the quarters coverage that they're in. So you see his eyes looking here the whole time. So you can kind of simply stay on this side here and just kind of loop this ball over the top, and you've got a nice big gain. It'll probably get called back from the offensive pass interference. I'm not sure how they missed that. It's about as brutal as it gets. But so then he gets his backside concept, and again, it's a hell of a play by Zach Bond. Just a great pass deflection, but this throw isn't really open because even if you get it past here, you've got Blankenship coming down and ready to blow up Noah Brown. So just one I think he kind of missed on, but that was kind of early in the game, and you can see it here from the end zone view. He kind of gives a quick look right there. He sees Nakobe Dean peeling off, so he kind of immediately is done with that. But you can see here that safety's got his eyes to this backside here the whole time. So
I had that as a misread as well because for me, I think what he was looking is if Nakobe Dean was going to blitz and whether he needed to be hot. And when he saw Dean peeling off, he should have recognized instantly that's man coverage, and I want the wheel route against man coverage.
It's exactly what it's designed for.
So for me, that's a misread, and it's still a fantastic pass breakup by
it's almost a pick too. If that's a pick, that would be one of the most impressive picks I've seen.
Very athletic play.
This guy is out of nowhere one of the best linebackers in the NFL. So going on later, I think this is the next drive later in that first quarter here. And this kind of is another one where I think that he's trying to do a little bit too much here. And again, you can chalk this up to, again, a great play by a linebacker. This is the play where he tries to get out of the pocket and Nakobe Dean's waiting for him. And usually he's going to make this guy miss, get that first down for 3rd down. But again, we talked about this a lot throughout the season, is not just scrambling to run, but scrambling to pass. So you got some quick pressure here. Good job to evade it, but keep your eyes downfield. I mean, he's even looking at him. You can dump this off to Eckler. You can dump this off to, I believe that's Zach Ertz. And you let them do the work. That's what they're there for. Again, I think he feels in his head that he's done this millions of times and he can easily make Nakobe Dean miss. He doesn't, and then you got to punt on fourth down. But so again, just another little error to start with, and that kind of sums up the NFL for you. You're going to make that guy miss every single time in college, but Nakobe Dean's a special athlete and another linebacker making a great play. But you got two guys open that he's even looking at them too, that you can kind of just sort of dump this off to. And we saw Eckler have a huge game with yards after the catch.
So Nick and Mark, real quick question for both of you. Jayden seemed to have like an over-reliance on taking it underneath today. This past week, throwing to running backs, throwing out of the backfield, not taking shots to our wide receivers. What do you attest that to? Do you believe the Eagles were taking it away? Was he sped up in his process? What's your hypothesis of what happened there?
Do you want me to jump in on that one?
Yeah, you can go. I think we're going to be on the same wavelength here.
Yeah, the Eagles were playing a ton of quarters coverage, and so when Washington is chipping so much, they're keeping guys in to protect. It's basically a lot of 2-man and 3-man routes, and that essentially means when you have quarters coverage, the outside receiver is going to be bracketed a lot of the time, and so it's really tough to find those guys. And at which point, the weak point in quarters coverage is the flat. And you saw, I think what we'll get to when I talk about Kingsbury is we saw that they were kind of targeting, okay, they're going to take away the deep stuff. They're going to take away the receivers. We'll target the flat and pick up some yak. And that's what Nick talked about with Eckler and stuff. They did a good job of getting to some of that stuff. But I think Jayden missed a few more opportunities like this play that Nick showed that, Eckler was open there and Ertz peeled off and they could have picked something up there. But I think Jayden was just a little thrown off in this game. And as Nick said, we've seen a guy that's been learning to scramble to pass rather than scramble to run. And in this game, he kind of reverted back to the scrambling to run.
Yeah, so another one here. They finally don't play quarters coverage, of course. And this is the bad sack from Jayden. There's a lot here that you can get to, and it's just you're gonna just chalk this one up to a bad sack that you just can't take, especially on 1st and 10. But you kind of get to the top of the drop here. You get a little interior pressure, but you can kind of slide like he does, and he's perfectly okay there. And okay, you can hit check downs here. You've got, I think that's Ertz again open. You've got the running back open. You want to keep going through your progression. You've got Terry McLaurin coming back on his comeback. You've got the dig. You got a lot open here. And I think the pressure just kind of gets to him. Kind of panics a little bit. He's still got a ton of time here. This is a good pocket. I know it seems because he's off of his spot, but in the NFL, this is a good pocket. You got a bunch of options here. You dump it down, you get 5-6 yards, and you're in, a positive game script. That's, a thing that they've been so good at on offense is staying in that, positive script of constantly putting themselves in short yardage situations so they can continue to succeed. And you just this sack you just can't take. If you don't want this and you want to kind of bail out, you can't do this. You can't try to. Again, this is the NFL. These guys are going to make that play, and they end up making the sack. So what starts with kind of some slight interior pressure here, but again, you can just, like he does, calmly slide, keep going through your progression here. And again, you've got Robinson open, you've got Ertz open. Terry McLaurin, if he was kind of on rhythm there, you could hit that comeback route. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff there, and then just a bad sack. So not a great start. The first half was rough. But I think this next one is first half as well. Yeah, this is the deep over. This one is the one you can just kind of point to as like, okay, maybe he's still dealing with something. Mark put out a tweet comparing this exact same throw against the Giants where he hits this perfectly in stride, and there's just no excuse for him here. I mean, he's perfectly set up. He's got a good pocket, and he hits that throw 9 times out of 10. And so that's one you can kind of point to as, okay, maybe he's still injured, but you got the exact look you want against the coverage you want here, and you've got Noah Brown wide open on this deep over, and that's one he's going to want back, and he's got to hit.
Mark, what did you come away with? I know you put that tweet. That was a great tweet, by the way. It was a side-by-side view of this very similar throw here. What's your gut saying about Jayden Daniels? Do you find him potentially injured right now, or do you think he's doing okay? Bad game? What do you test?
Yeah, I think he's just kind of battling with the pain tolerance, I guess. And like obviously they've done everything they can to protect Jayden throughout this offseason, both with health wise and shading him from the media, not putting up for too much things and putting too much expectations on him. So I think that if he was in real pain and real trouble, they would not be playing him right now. So that to me suggests if there is an injury lingering there, which obviously they're putting that heat pack on him after every drive and stuff, there is still something, then to me it suggests he's just struggling a little bit with it, and typically it's when he rotates to try to drive the ball, and you could see it there. He kind of didn't drive over his front foot, and he kind of didn't get into the throw, and that caused him to lose the velocity. And he doesn't have a big enough arm where if he doesn't drive over his front foot and doesn't really put emphasis on the ball, he's not got the arm to make up for that as some other guys do. So you can see he doesn't really get over his front foot. He kind of just never completes that throw.
You want that foot to be like up there a little bit more.
Yeah. So it just lacks the velocity, and it drops on him. And you could see it with the Giants play a few weeks ago, where he did still have the rib injury, but he had a full week's rest before that game, whereas this one, it's a short rest, having just played a really tough team in the Steelers that hit him a few times, so
and it could be he could have gotten hit earlier in the game, and it kind of made it a little bit worse, and that's probably why they're not saying it's an injury, and he's always going to keep battling through. But I do think it's a kind of pain tolerance thing right now, and clearly saw it on that throw. But this next one again, it's third and long again. This one is chalked up to just a bad drop, and this is one that Eckler's going to want back. He almost hits the surrender cobra here at the end, going down to the ground. But it's one he wants back, and I kind of like Jayden just kind of quickly dumping it off here. But again, there was some other stuff open.
Deep over to Dyami Brown.
Yeah, you got the deep over, and I understand why he might be looking off. You got this leverage, but again, you got to trust the receiver to break that and beat him, and he does. So you've got Dyami Brown, and that's wide open in the NFL. So you can hit that. You've also got, I believe that's Zacchaeus at the top. He's going to run a comeback against, I don't know who that is, but he puts him on the ground. Or no, he doesn't, but he puts him 10 yards away from the ball. So you got a couple things open on this play, which is that's fine. You missed those, but you're going to bet on Eckler to get this first down, or at the very worst, put him in one on this play, especially with all the tackles he was forcing to miss on Thursday. So one that you can chalk up to, okay, you'd want your quarterback to drive this. And again, it could be a situation where he doesn't feel comfortable in driving this throw all the way down the field. And so he just prefers that check down there. But just one chalked up to unfortunate luck, but can't really see it from this end zone, but you can sort of start to see right here at this moment, Dyami's open. Like at that moment, once you've got the corner turn like that, he's going to be open on this route. You can see Jayden kind of looking at it. I think in my mind, he sees that deep safety here kind of break off and want to help. And maybe that's what kind of puts him apart from it. But again, you got the safety bailing the opposite way. He's not gonna make that up. So just kind of chalk that one up too. Unlucky. Next up here. This is another one where you can it's an uncharacteristic miss from Jayden Daniels. You can also chalk this one up to maybe a slight miscommunication on the play. I think he might want Noah Brown to kind of settle down instead of breaking this farther out. And you can see him start to break out, and that's why it's behind. But just another miss in a much tighter pocket this time. There's not much really to break down here other than I think it could be a miscommunication, but that's just me being a little optimistic. And also one of the worst pass interference calls of all time on that play. But that made up for the illegal contact stuff on the previous drive. Next up here, this is another one where, again, this is not on Jayden. This is just kind of miscommunication where a receiver and a quarterback just aren't on the same page here. You're running mesh. You get it against man coverage, exactly what you want. You've got Terry McLaurin on this shallow right here. You've got Ertz setting a pick. Again, he's got to be a little bit better with how he wants to set these picks. It's pretty rough. But Terry, for whatever reason, stops his route. Against man, you shouldn't be stopping this route. You got to keep it going. He kind of stops. Jayden expects him to keep going. Miscommunication. And that's just kind of pretty much summed up the offense. Like, they're just not on the same page here. Not really
Nick, sorry to interrupt you. What
Okay.
I'm hearing from you is there's more miscommunications, lack of execution, not being crisp is kind of more of the flaws in the game as opposed to potentially Jayden Daniels being hurt. Like, maybe there is a pain tolerance there, but, the reads seem to be a little bit off. The accuracy is a little bit off. I guess you could attest that to potentially the injury, but it seems like more of like a lack of execution and some boneheaded errors, kind of what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a mix of both. We've seen, I think I touched on some of them against the Steelers, and it's not just Jayden. Clearly, it's
everything.
It's Terry stopping the route here, and sometimes you got the offensive line not dealing with a stunt too well here. But again, Terry shouldn't be stopping that. So chalk it up to another miscommunication, and you kind of move on, and that's why you start to struggle as an offense if you just guys aren't on the same page. So I'll finally get to some good here. We've talked about some of these seam throws, and he hits another one here. This is just a great job of recognizing what they're doing on defense. Start out with this too high look, but you can kind of see as the corners bail, the safeties start to move. They're going to rotate to single high. That's what they're showing you. It's cover 3. It's exactly what you want against this concept. So hit the back foot and drive the seam route. Perfect ball placement. Nice big first down. So the second half, it did start to kind of get a little bit better, but it was a little bit too late. But again, nice throw here, good ball placement. Start to get back on a rhythm. So he's able to drive that throw. So sometimes, again, it's just maybe he takes a hit in that series and it kind of messes with him a little bit. But I think this is the last one here. And this is just the pick. Again, you're down 9 at this point with 4 minutes. You're going to have to try to force the ball. You're going to have to drive it. But this is that quarters coverage that Mark was talking about here, where you've got chipping here going to the flat. And what you've got here is essentially 2 guys on him. Reed Blankenship does a great job here on this play to drive on this ball. He just knows exactly the concept that's coming. Again, it's a great play here. Jayden's trying to force it because you're down by 9. You need a big play, and just a good interception.
That was absolutely a big backbreaker right there. And it seemed, if you look at the pocket, he had plenty of time, and that one guard just buries the Eagles' offensive lineman as well.
Yeah,
Our defensive lineman.
Sam Cosme's best rep for sure, but it's a great play by Reed Blankenship. I mean, the way he's kind of angled here doesn't tell you that he's going to be able to drive on this, but he stops and drives on it perfectly, and it's just never open. He's trying to force some stuff because, again, you're down 9 with 4 minutes left, and you got to go. So just trying to.
Is there a correct read there? Did he make the wrong read, or what happened in your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, I think if he sees this again, I don't think he's trying this look, because the way they've been playing quarters, they're matching a lot with what their safeties are matching a lot of these routes. So you saw it a lot early on where this was never really open, and it's why he had to check it down so much. So I think, again, I'm chalking this up to bad decision, trying to force things because you're down by 9 with 4 minutes left. So
for me, I would say the leverage of the safety kind of gives that one away. Typically on those sail routes, you're looking for the safety on quarters to attach to Terry McLaurin's deep route. And because the safety has his hips open towards the middle of the field rather than to the sideline, if his hips were open to the sideline, that would suggest he's trying to turn and run. Yeah. If he's facing Terry McLaurin, he's probably going to turn and run with Terry. But he's kind of facing inside, looking more at Noah Brown. So he's more anticipating Brown's route than having to turn and run with Terry. So at the very least, even if he's not looking at Noah Brown's route, his leverage is more inside. So he's not going to be staying with Terry's route. At that point, you need to know that, okay, Terry's not being bracketed here, so that safety is still a threat. So for me, the safety kind of gives it away a little bit, and that's easy to say after the fact, having watched that play back like 5 times rather than in the moment. Because
this it's 2 seconds, and like that's why quarterback is so hard. Like reading the leverage in a split second like that is just so difficult to do. It's what makes these throw impressive. But it's just something that you should never really target. And I believe, that's the last one I got.
All right, let's pivot a little bit. So thank you for that, Nick. I appreciate it. Let's start moving over to Kliff Kingsbury and see how his offense looks.
So there's been a ton of talk the past week or so about Kingsbury hitting a wall and the discussion about how his offense is stalled late in seasons and how he doesn't come up with anything new and stuff like that. So I thought I would just go through some of the different stuff that he keeps showing and evolving every week. So I thought I'd start off here. We have a 21 personnel package. So and we'll look at a couple plays from this package. So this is back from the Panthers game in week 7. So this is 21 personnel. You got this is Jeremy McNichols, I think, here, and Austin Eckler back here, or one of them. No, is Eckler in the slot here and McNichols back here. So it's 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 receivers, and you're going to have Eckler is going to go in this kind of fake motion across and then back around and line up in the backfield with the 2 backs. And they're going to run their GT counter scheme, which they love, pulling both the guard and the tackle from the right side. And they're going to read this defensive end. And this is the first play of the game against the Panthers. We've seen this one. This is the one where Jayden gets himself injured. But just recognize the look. The personnel group is that 21 personnel with 2 running backs. They run the GT counter scheme with that motion from Austin Eckler. And Jayden goes and picks up 50 yards and then gets himself hurt. Again, that motion Eckler, we see it around the back here, and then they run that GT counter and defensive ends left going where the hell is Jayden Daniels, where's the ball, and Jayden's 50 yards down the field. So
it's gotta be brutal being a linebacker in the NFL. That's so much.
Next week, week 8 against the Bears, or maybe week 9 against the Bears. No, week 8 against the Bears, I think it was. Same look. This time it's Brian Robinson instead of Austin Eckler. Eckler's back here, but it's still 21 personnel. Same look with a little bunch set here, and you're going to have Brian Robinson do the same motion that we saw Eckler just do. So Robinson's going to motion across and ghost back around here and line up next to him. And then they're not going to fake the GT counter because it's a play action. So you're not going to pull both the guard and the tackle at the same time on play action. But they're going to fake a power run to this side. And they're going to run a sail concept off of it. So again, you're presenting the defense a look that was really successful for you the week before. Jayden picked up that 50-odd yards, so they show the same look, same motion, and then they play off of it. So they, instead of running the ball, they show the same look and they go into a play action pass, and you get these linebackers all moving up, and you create this nice little seam here for Zach Ertz on the sail route. And it's a nice big play. Then we've got the next week, week 9 against the Giants. Very similar idea. Again, 21 personnel. This time Eckler's out here in the slot with a bunch set. He's going to motion into the backfield. It's not going to be quite the same motion where he goes across and ghosts around, but he gets to the same point. And you're going to run the different play action. So instead of running the sail, you run this high cross, and this is the Noah Brown one. Where Jayden makes a really nice throw. So again, you're showing that 21 personnel with the running back lined up outside in a bunch set, and he's going to motion back into the formation, and suddenly you're going to snap the ball, and you're going to get into a different play action pass, and then Noah Brown's going to catch this deep over with a great throw from Jayden. So it's just showing that's 3 weeks in a row where they show a very similar look from this 21 personnel package, but they change things, they tweak things, they bring new varieties to it. So it's not going stale. It's not like they're showing the same thing every week. They're getting to different stuff from these packages. So that was 21 personnel. Now we can look at 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. This has been their big play action personnel, and they've got a lot of their chunk play action plays out of 12 personnel, because they've been able to really run the ball well with 12 personnel as well. So this, to me, this has been their best personnel group with 2 tight ends on the field, 2 receivers, and a running back. And what we're going to see here is they're going to fake a power scheme. They're going to leak, I think this is Ben Sinnott, out to the flat. They're going to fake Jayden Daniels running a bootleg like he's going to throw that, and they're going to throw it back to Noah Brown on a deep over. And we'll get through this. He's going to pivot out, and it looks like it's all going that way. The whole defense is flowing that way, and Noah Brown's going to come back across, and Jayden's going to pull back and throw that wide open deep over to Noah Brown that we saw him miss in the Eagles game. We'll get back to that in a minute. But yeah, so that's that one against the Ravens. What was that, week 6? This is 2 weeks later against the Bears. Again, 12 personnel. They're still going to get to that same idea of a deep over with a vertical route, but they're going to get to it differently. So this time you're going to line up the tight end outside. He's going to motion in. He's going to chip. You're going to have a chip on this side. You're still going to fake a power scheme, but you're going to get to it differently. We're in pistol. So this time, instead of with the 21 personnel, we saw them showing the same look and getting to different concepts. Here, what we're seeing with 12 personnel is we're showing different looks, different formations to window dress the same concepts that we want to get to. So this is the same kind of play action thing that we just saw, but we get to it differently. Still with that 12 personnel, we get Ben Sinnott motioning in. We're going to chip both edges to give us max protect. We're going to pull the guard to get sell the run fake, get the linebackers biting up, and then we're going to create this nice big hole over the middle of the field for Terry McLaurin, and pick up another nice chunk.
So explain how, I guess, the 12 personnel changes what a defense does, because it's going to change a lot, because you can see on that play that just the body types that they have on the field, where, again, defenses are usually basing out a nickel now, that you're going to play with essentially 3 corners on the field, 2 safeties, 2 linebackers. But you can see right here that the Bears have 3 linebackers on the field, and it's because it's to match the 2 tight end set. I didn't see what the defense was running with the 21 stuff, but I assume it's pretty similar. But again, now you got big bodies on the field who are not going to be able to kind of check run, read run, back up, get into their zones as efficiently as a corner is. So it's just one thing that affects the defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I told you to explain it, and then I went on.
You explained it. That's fine. It's a good point, and because you can see stuff that they can get into in the future is when they trust Ben Sinnott a little bit more, is if they motion him out here, you can see you've got a linebacker here over, this is Noah Brown, who's technically in the slot at this point. That would be a mismatch that you'd want to attack in the future, right? So that would be the next level of where they want to get to. But as things stand right now, their explosive stuff is coming off of their 12 personnel play action, and it's because they're presenting different looks and getting to the same kind of stuff. And it's just window dressing to get to the same type of play action stuff that is being their bread and butter. And this is that why they keep saying, that we haven't even shown the whole offense yet? Is because they've got more stuff that they can play off of that? That's exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're doing. And this is a 21 personnel play again, but it's a different way of dressing up this deep over play action stuff that they want to get to. Again, it's showing a different look, but we've already seen that play, so we'll skip that one. I can't skip it because I've got too far forward. I can only skip forward 10 seconds. So, right. And then this was the Noah Brown one against the Eagles. So to say the Eagles have figured them out and they know how to stop this play. They don't know how to stop this play because Noah Brown comes wide open, and it's the same concept that we've seen 3 or 4 times now over the past 5 or 6 weeks, right? It's, again, 12 personnel. You've got Ben Sinnott going to roll out to the flat. It's the exact same look as what we saw with that Ravens one, the first one. And Noah Brown's going to run this deep over. And what's going to happen? The Eagles are going to bite up on the run fake. Noah Brown's going to get up on the DB and break open. And he's going to have all this space to run into, and he is wide open. This is not, we've solved Kliff Kingsbury, is it? This is a wide open throw. And Jayden just misses it. And we could get into why he misses it in here and there, but it just shows that it's not, an offense has not been solved. They've missed opportunities.
I affirm your stance. That was very clear cut. That was a great display there. Noah Brown was clearly wide open. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but you saw the previous throws, they were darts. There's a lot of velocity behind his throws before, so I don't know what happened. Maybe he was kind of overthinking it. Maybe there was some sort of injury going on, but there was a lack of velocity there, so he just missed him there. He was wide open.
Yeah. And that's why I immediately knew when I saw that throwback, I was like, I've seen him throw this like 10 times already this season with a lot more velocity than that, and there's something up. But as Nick said, maybe it was just he took a hit on that series and then was feeling it on that particular moment. But yeah,
it's cold for a guy from the South like that. You saw him on the big puffy jacket, like that was like a beautiful night for me, but for him that could be pretty cold.
I'm not buying the cold thing.
I'm just trying. I'm trying here. Trying everything.
Right. So, one more package. This is their unbalanced line, which we've seen them do a couple times, and I just want to again show that Kingsbury is still evolving his stuff. So this is again against the Panthers. What, week 8, week 9 was this? I can't remember now. I think week 8. You've got Andrew Wiley, who's normally the right tackle, lined up outside as a tight end. You've got John Bates, who's a tight end, lined up at right tackle, and you're going to run that GT counter scheme that we talked about. And Bates is going to be the right tackle pulling, and they're going to read this defensive end, and it's the GT counter read that we saw Daniels pull and run for 50 yards a minute ago, and it's the same idea, but it's just with an unbalanced line, so it's presenting a new look, and you're going to get a real nice hole emerging here. Wiley blocks down, and with Coleman, and then seals this side. You get your pullers coming this side and kicking out that way, and that creates a nice lane, and you pick up a nice.
All right, so I'm going to actually ask you a question this time and let you answer. What does the unbalanced line do for a defense?
Yes, so let's. So what a defense has to do is they naturally assume that you're going to be looking to run to this side of the line, because you've got your bigger bodies here and you've got smaller bodies here that you don't really want to run behind. So they then have to load the front this way, and the Panthers don't actually do a good job of loading the front this way.
You got the nose on the wrong side, and
in theory they load the front one way, and then you can attack that. And we'll see that a little bit better in a few more of the plays we've got coming up. But that is the idea: is you change the math for them. You move a tackle over here. Suddenly you're really heavy on this side, and they're meant to all flow over, and that can create issues for them in other spots. And we'll see that here. But that was just a nice scheme, and that was the unbalanced GT counter scheme, counter read. They run it again here against the Panthers a little bit later in that game. This was Brian Robinson's touchdown.
Much better job this time.
Yeah, so you can see they have shifted over. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work out any better for them because they still create this nice lane. Andrew Wiley does a nice job of instead of trying to seal inside, the linebacker scrapes over the top, so he adjusts and kicks him out. And that creates that nice lane for Brian Robinson, and then he goes and trucks 2 safeties and puts it in the end zone. So we've seen that's the GT counter out of the unbalanced line. A week later against the Bears, this time we're just going to run a power scheme. Again, we're back in this is 12 personnel, so this is Zach Ertz here. This is John Bates on the line is playing the right tackle. We've got Andrew Wiley here playing tight end. We're in the pistol, and we're just going to run a power scheme to this side where the guard's going to pull, Sam Cosby's going to pull, and he's going to wrap around for the first linebacker. Wiley's going to kick out on the edge, and you're going to get Coleman and Allegretti trying to block down inside and create a lane. And this is actually quite a nice scheme because this defender thinks he's getting read by Jayden Daniels at this point, and he kind of pauses, and that lets Zach Ertz go and make a nice easy block on him. But you also see the linebacker here scraping to the edge thinking, oh God, Jayden Daniels is going to pull the ball. You've got extra guys out here, and suddenly you've got these down blocks inside, and you've only got one linebacker against Sam Cosby pulling, and you can see the math is all wrong for the Bears here, and we get this nice lane. Someone's freelancing here. I think this is Cornelius Lucas rather than Coleman. He's freelancing a little bit, but he's looking for work, which you like. And then Brian Robinson's able to hit the hole and pick up a nice game.
Again, it's just brutal being a linebacker in the NFL.
Yes.
Your rules are going to tell you to flow one way because of the split, and then your rules are then going to tell you to flow back the other way, and it's a disaster.
Let me tell this out to you guys. Sorry, Mark, to interrupt you, but I think one thing, when Washington was firing on all cylinders, the offensive line seemed to be in sync for whatever reason and working really well with each other. Over the past week or so, we're not seeing that like cohesion. We're seeing some breaks in the armor. Is it because of injuries, in your opinion? Is lack of execution, or what are your suspicions?
They're banged up.
banged up.
I mean, they had all three starting tackles on the injury list questionable for this Eagles game, right? And Cornelius Lucas missed the week before. I think Coleman missed the week before that. Andrew Wiley was active against the Giants but didn't play. Trent Scott played, right? So they're banged up. And like Tyler Biadasz is going about his work really well, but I think he had like 3 things listed, like a shoulder, a thumb, and a knee or something like that. They need a bye week in the worst way.
They do.
That's what it is for me. Plus, the Eagles and the Steelers both have pretty good fronts. They have some pretty good defensive linemen. So to be fair, so do the Giants have a pretty good front. They have a very good defensive lineman in Dexter Lawrence, and they handled him. But yeah, they're banged up. That's simply what it is for me.
Yeah, and when you get new guys in there, it messes up with some execution because again, you're so used to one guy. Cosmi and Wiley have played thousands of snaps together, so they know what they're going to do on certain run concepts. When they see certain fronts, they know exactly what they're going to do. We throw Trent Scott in there, and this is nothing against Trent Scott. I thought he played pretty well considering the circumstances, but it's just different. Like you just don't have that same sort of trust, and the best offensive lines are the ones that are consistently the same guys. Like you see with the Lions, the Lions, their offensive line is great. Penei Sewell is a dominant dude, but they also got a lot of guys that they're just all been there together and they play thousands of snaps together, so they know exactly what each person is doing. You can trust the guy next to you, and it's a lot harder, which is why I was never really understanding the left tackle rotation, but it seemed to work out really well for him. But yeah, I think they're just banged up, and you got guys that you're not used to playing with.
Yeah.
Yep. So the point of showing that unbalanced stuff is there was the evolution. We saw the GT counter stuff against the Panthers. Then we saw the power scheme against the Bears. Against the Eagles, they go to show this unbalanced line, and they start to do some play action stuff off of it. So we're back in this 21 personnel with Eckler and Brian Robinson in the backfield. We've got Zach Ertz playing the right tackle, which is kind of a giveaway. I would say put John Bates in there for this. But obviously they want the better receiver for a play action, but that kind of gives it away that they're not going to trust Zach Ertz blocking in line. But it's the idea is we're going with the unbalanced line. Andrew Wise over here as a tight end, and we're going to sell a run play out here, and we're going to leap Austin Eckler as a fullback into the flat. And as I kind of talked about earlier with the Eagles playing so much quarters, the weaknesses in quarters coverage is the flat. So we're going to attack it, and we're going to show that unbalanced line, which we've all run out of, and we're going to get the guys biting on the run fake. And Austin Eckler's just going to leak out here to the flat. He's going to have all this space to run into. He's got nobody covering him. So again, it shows the evolution of what Kingsbury was trying to do, setting up stuff that we've seen this unbalanced look a lot this season, but we hadn't seen any play action off of it. So it shows that, again, he's not being stale. It's not, we're just running the same stuff that we ran earlier in the season. No, we're evolving. We're building off of layers off of what we did earlier in the season. And they run this play action play, and Austin Eckler goes and makes a huge gain out of it. And because he's wide open and it's really well schemed. And this one was another one that was kind of crazy. When I watched it back, I didn't notice it at first. But this is another unbalanced line. John Bates is playing left tackle. You got Brandon Coleman playing right tackle, and you got Andrew Wiley lined up as a split tight end.
I was hoping you talked to this because this is just weird.
Yeah, and then we're going to run this kind of double post sail concept with Terry McLaurin running this kind of sail route, and you're going to have Brian Robinson leaking out to the flat, and you got double posts from Ertz and from Noah Brown. It's kind of a nice look. I quite like it. It's a little bit different, but again, it's showing a completely new unbalanced line look from what we'd seen earlier in the year. But earlier in the year, they established that they are willing to do unbalanced lines, so the Eagles aren't surprised by that. But they are surprised by Andrew Wiley suddenly standing up as a tight end, and we're going to run a play action pass out of it. But the result of all of that is the Eagles are going to be completely confused. They got multiple guys running after Jayden Daniels, thinking we need to get after him because he's rolling out, and that's just going to leave the flat again. What I talked about, the flats are what they were trying to attack, and Brian Robinson is wide open in the flat, and Jayden hits him, and he's got a big yak opportunity, and they pick up basically a first down out of it. So
Real quick,
yeah.
Mark. So, pardon my ignorance here. Why is it advantageous to have Andrew Wiley out in the open space right there? Like, if he was leading blocker
Why not?
potentially, like, is he not? Seems to get downfield, right? What's he doing here? In my opinion, what do you guys see here?
He is meant to block. He
Yeah,
does not do a particularly good job of it here.
Yeah.
On this situation, but it is more just to provide a different look. That again, you think an unbalanced line. We got John Bates in. You can see the confusion here. They're kind of pointing. Hang on, we need to be moving where we're at. We're not sure we're meant to be lined up. You've got your defensive end that would normally be lined up here because that's the right tackle, and suddenly the right tackle is out here playing as a tight end, and suddenly we're having to line up way out here, and it just confuses what the Eagles are trying to do. And you can see we snap the ball when these guys are still talking about what they're meant to be doing. That slows down the pass rush. Andrew Wiley, again, he's meant to just be blocking this guy and sealing that edge as Jayden Daniels rolls out. He doesn't do a great job, but because he started so wide, the defender has to make up a lot of ground, and fortunately Brian Robinson goes wide open into the flat, and Jayden's able to dump it off and pick up a nice gain. So yeah, that was just to show another little package of the unbalanced line. I have one more little package that we'll quickly get through this one. There's a couple plays in this, but we'll quickly get through it. That they've just showed recently. So this one was against the Bears. They showed this little running back return motion where Jayden's going to signal him in motion, and Brian Robinson's going to run out, look like he's going to swing out to the flat on like a little swing screen. And he's going to get just outside the tackle, and then he's going to pivot back inside, and they're going to hand it off on a sweep. And you'll see what this does to the linebackers and the leverage it gives the offensive line and their blocking. So you can see right now we've got 49 lined up in this gap. Kind of, if you're running to the right here, Cornelius Lucas has got kind of a tough block to try to reach him. But because of this motion, this linebacker is going to get way out here, and you'll see it as we run it through. He gets all the way out here, anticipating this swinging out here, and then when we snap the ball, suddenly, instead of being in this gap, he's 2 yards out here, and Cornelius Lucas has a much easier angle, right? And the same thing is true over here. The Mike linebacker, we've got, I think this is Zach Ertz here, is going to go up and block him, and he's got a much better angle to go block him. And we're going to pin the defensive tackles in. We're going to pull the guards on a sweep to the edge. I did draw it up. So yeah, you can see Lucas has a better angle. Ertz has a better angle. Your guards are going to get good angles on pulls. Brian Robinson's going to pull that to the edge. And suddenly you've got a nice lane here developing for Brian Robinson to go and pick up a nice gain. So that's a little return motion that they introduced that week. We hadn't seen it for a little bit. They bring it back for this one. And this time they add more layers on top of it. So again, we go back to the GT counter scheme. So instead of just the sweep scheme that we just saw, we go GT counter. We're going to add a quarterback read into it. So we're going to lead this guy on block and read him. And again, we're going to produce decent angles for our linemen. We're going to get Nakobe Dean to move across to react to the motion. We're going to get down blocks. We're going to have John Bates is going to fake blocking this end and then go up and get a nice angle on Dean. You're going to get Allegretti come and kick out this defender. And then you've got Brandon Coleman coming through to block the corner. Bates is going to steal Dean inside, and Brian Robinson gets that lane to go and pick up a nice gain. And a safety comes down and makes a play, but you've got 5 or 6 yards before the safety is able to do that. So that's just to show, again, another little look at they're building more layers on top of a motion that they'd shown a few weeks before. That it's just to show that it's not all gone stale. They haven't done that. They're not just running the same plays and getting found out. They are still building on it. And one more example, again, we see the return motion from the running back here, and we're gonna, instead of running the ball, we're gonna turn it into a play action. And we're gonna have the deep over. We're gonna have a double post on this side. We're gonna fake power to this side. And again, it's all just to window dress up different stuff. And we're going to get Austin Eckler out here to the flat. You're going to see these linebackers see the play action, and they're like, okay, naturally off the play action, what we've seen Washington do is try to hit this deep over. So we're going to try to sink back under it. And what that's going to do is going to leave all this space out here for Austin Eckler. And Eckler's going to go pick up a huge yard after the catch and a real nice gain. So yeah, that's just kind of to show that the offense hasn't gone stale. It's not he's running the same plays over and over again and they've been found out. They are adding in new wrinkles and new layers to stuff every week. So they're presenting new stuff to the defense every week. The Eagles and the Steelers just played them well. And they're good defenses. And so I thought I would also just jump into quickly here. How did the Steelers do it? How did the Eagles do it? Because if the idea is that Kingsbury's been found out, then surely the Eagles and the Steelers just played them the exact same way. And that couldn't be further from the truth. The Steelers, how they wanted to play, they wanted to blitz 5, play a bunch of man coverage, create as many one-on-ones up front and try to pressure Daniels that way, and trust their corners to hold up. And when they were able to blitz 5, they were able to generate some pressure. And we talked about it last week. Washington wanted to not have to support as much on the edges. They didn't want to have to chip as much. They wanted to get as many receivers out running routes to attack the man coverage. And they just couldn't quite hold up in protection. And this is one where Jayden, misses Luke McCaffrey underneath and ends up getting sacked. But that can happen when you're under pressure, right? So that forced Washington to adjust their game plan. And they went back to the stuff we talked about with 12 personnel, get into heavy play action, max protect, setting up the play action stuff. And that's when we showed this play last week. John Bates makes a hell of a block on here, and they're able to get a little bit better protection. Jayden feels a lot more comfortable in rhythm, and he gets that ball out on time and hits Noah Brown on the sideline off of play action. And later in the game, when the game was on the line, this was the final drive. I think this was the second down play. They wanted to get receivers out to try to attack the man coverage that the Steelers were playing with, but it meant leaving guys like TJ Watt one-on-one against the Trent Scott, which is obviously not a good matchup. So here, Austin Eckler is going to protect inside against a potential linebacker blitz and then try to release, which leaves Watt outside free. And what you'll see is that Watt goes and beats Scott and hits Jayden Daniels before he can get the ball out. So on the fourth down play and the third down play, they then had to adjust and they go, okay, well, we can't just leave guys one-on-one. We have to chip, which then means they've only got 3 receivers running out on 4th and 9 because these guys can only really chip and then work to the flat. So then you're left with 3 guys trying to pick up 9 yards. You want all your receivers out running routes on 4th and 9, right? But you can't trust your protection, so you have to adjust. And that's how the Steelers were able to, cause Washington issues because the protection couldn't hold up. And then, Zach Ertz maybe not had the first down.
It's a first down. It's first down.
And then we talked about the missed opportunities that Washington had in this game. Like they still put up 27 points. And we talked about this one last week with Zacchaeus running the deep over. That's a big yak opportunity, and they just misconnected on it. And I think Jayden puts this a yard in front more than he wants to, and Zacchaeus goes at it with the wrong hand placement. This hand should be over the top, and he messes up, and they don't complete that one. This is the McCaffrey one. Again, they get man coverage. They're trying to attack the man coverage. McCaffrey wins off the line. He is cooked that defender, and Jayden puts out a decent ball out there under pressure. Just can't quite connect on it. It's just
I don't think there were as many blatant missed opportunities against the Eagles, and like you said, their game plans could not have been further apart from each other.
Exactly.
The Steelers play a brand of defense that not a lot of people can really afford to do and get away with, but there were still missed opportunities in the Eagles game too, which you put up a bigger lead on a team that was kind of struggling on offense, and we're talking about a completely different game. So I don't think anything's really been figured out.
No.
And Nick, to recap that. Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to recap what we were talking about. So the Steelers seem to sell out more on the edge, but play more of a man coverage type of scheme, while the Eagles played more of a quarter for zone coverage and quarters to kind of bracket the wide receivers and take that away. So you're right; they're further from the truth, complete opposite end of the spectrum there.
Exactly. And another point of difference of how the Steelers played compared to the Eagles. This is an example of how most teams play the read option in the NFL. It's called the scrape exchange, right? So we're running just a read option play. You're reading this defensive end. If he crashes inside, Jayden Daniels pulls the ball. If he holds his position, you hand the ball off. What most defenses now do is they teach this defensive end to crash inside on the run regardless, and then they have a linebacker scrape over the top to replace him on the edge to account for the quarterback keeping it. And that's what you get here. You see the defensive end isn't thinking at all about Jayden Daniels. He's going completely on Brian Robinson. Jayden Daniels pulls it, but there's the linebacker there scraping over the top, and Jayden Daniels is only able to pick up a short gain. The Steelers went completely against that. They said, screw worrying about the run, go after Jayden Daniels. And they just said, we'll deal with having an extra blocker in up front here. We're just going to send you after Jayden Daniels. We're going to force you to hand the ball off. We're not going to let Jayden Daniels beat us on the edge. And
they played with so many, with 5 defensive linemen so often that they could afford to kind of do that, where you're still sending him into what was the Browns case, you'd be sending him into 3 defenders on the line. You're sending him into 4 now. So, and they have some big bodies up here that are able to eat up space. Is still a monster. Exactly. So it's very hard to, even with that extra advantage, it's very hard to still run the ball on these guys. So that's why they can be unique in being like, okay, we're just going to send you straight after Jayden. You can see here, Jayden's handed the ball off. Watt's still going for him. And Jayden has to kind of take evasive action. So, that just shows that, they went for something very different. Now I could recap, but we're near the end of the hour, and this is me going into what the Eagles were doing, which we kind of already have looked at. They were playing a bunch of zone, and as we were talking about, it was a completely different game plan. So if you're talking about if the idea is that Kliff Kingsbury has been figured out, they're running the same stuff, and now every defense is going to be able to stop them, you would think, the defensive game plan from the Steelers and the Eagles would have been the same. It couldn't have been more different. As we kind of just showed, Eagles played a lot of zone. Steelers played completely man and tried to blitz 5 or 6 as often as possible. Steelers had a completely different plan for the read option. The Eagles played the typical scrape exchange that we see, whereas the Steelers were just attacking Jayden Daniels and forcing the handoff because they have big bodies up front that can eat up the extra linemen. And so they were completely different game plans. And Washington missed opportunities against both. As we kind of talked about, the McCaffrey deep over, the Zacchaeus shallow cross, those could have been big hitters. And if Washington, if Zach Ertz gets that first down given to him on 4th and 9, then perhaps they go and kick a field goal, they win that game, and nobody's talking about this. So, and as I tried to show with earlier, like, it's not like Kingsbury's just calling the same stuff as we saw earlier in the season. Like, the offense has evolved so much. The first few weeks, it was so RPO heavy. Now it's evolved into more like that 12 personnel play action, setting up the run game and hitting the play action deep overs off of that. We see the 21 personnel package get more and more creative every week with those 2 running backs on the field at the same time. And that's the stuff earlier in the season. We saw like that flea flicker screen that Eckler hit for a big gain, and that fake swing screen to the running back that they then threw the screen to McLaurin inside. That was a 21 personnel package play. Kingsbury's been really creative with that, and we continue to see it even in this game against the Eagles, where they had a couple of big hits to Eckler out of that 21 personnel package. And the other packages I've shown, the 12 personnel, the running back return motion, the unbalanced line stuff, there's new layers to all of these different packages every week. So to sum it all up, the offense is not stale. There's new stuff every week, and it has not been figured out. They just played 2 very good defenses in the space of 4 days.
Mark, I love your thesis. You had a claim, evidence, reasoning. You broke it all down. I really appreciate that. Very good job.
I think they put up 40 on the Cowboys.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
What do you guys look to kind of wrap up the conversation today? What are you guys looking for next week? What will be an area of improvement? What are you watching going to the next game? Mark, we'll start off with you.
What did the Lions put up against Dallas? 49?
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, I wanted to top what the Lions did. that might shut up a few people about Kingsbury. And look, I as I said at the start of this, I don't want to come off as like I'm Kliff Kingsbury's biggest fanboy, as this kind of seems like it is. I'm willing to be critical of him. I just don't. I want the criticism to be fair. I don't feel like this has been completely fair at all, and that's why I put this together to show he hasn't been solved, and hopefully dropping a lot of points on the Cowboys will prove that it has not been solved. So yes, I want to see the offense look a little bit more in rhythm. Hopefully Jayden Daniels looks a little bit more in rhythm. I think that's the number one factor why the offense hasn't been as effective is Jayden, whether it's through injury or through hitting kind of a mid-season slump, just being a rookie quarterback, whatever the reason is, he's not quite been right the past few weeks. And that has caused the offense to lose some efficiency. And even when they've not been able to hit the deep shots against the Eagles, there were opportunities to take checkdowns, which he missed. And that's why they've been so good, is they've been able to hit those checkdowns, pick up, get ahead of the chains, as kind of Nick showed earlier. They keep themselves ahead of the chains, and they're able to continue drives and get into more and more plays. Whereas lately they've been missing a few of those plays and not hitting those checkdowns and getting into third and longs, and that causes them to screw up and have to punt the ball.
Nick, do you have any look forwards going into the Cowboys game?
No, he nailed it. I think that the Cowboys defense is very, very, very bad right now. Their D line is just getting moved left and right. I think you can see a massive game on the ground, but I would not be shocked if they come out and put 40 up. I'd love to see that, and I think they can, especially if you get like a little mini bye here, which is nice to have, and you finally kind of, obviously you don't want them to kind of take it lightly, but you get a much easier defense to go up against, and I think we get back on track. And the schedule's not too tough looking down the line. You get to play the Cowboys twice, the Titans, Saints, so it's just saying, season's not over. Not even.
I was gonna say I wouldn't be disappointed in watching.
Division's not even over yet. You play the Eagles again at home.
Exactly right.
Division's not over. They still have to play the Ravens and the Steelers.
Exactly right. So, the next two for Washington, they play the Cowboys at home. I believe they play the Titans at home as well before going into a bye week to rest up. Ideally, Washington goes in there 9-4, but we're not going to count that yet. We'll see how things progress. But we are looking for a big offensive boost this upcoming week. Mark and Nick, pleasure as always. I really enjoyed learning from you guys. Thank you as always. Thank you everybody to the 638 people that watched us live this week. It was fantastic. You guys can follow us every Tuesday at 4:30 on the Big Doug and Carmi Show on YouTube. You can follow us on our Twitter handles as well. We greatly appreciate it. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Peace out, guys. Take care. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate